All right, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, and this is Smell Goods. Appreciate you stopping by, hanging out with me, coming to watch a video for the next few minutes, next few hours, if you could just continue to watch a lot of videos. But appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch what I've got to put out today. This video was inspired by some of the things that I see in Facebook groups dedicated to fragrance, as well as sometimes what I see on some of these YouTube channels, TikTok streets, what have you, as it relates to fragrance. Somebody, I don't know where they signed up, but some people, I guess, maybe they feel that they are the fragrance police and feel that they have every right to, to slander those that wear clones or that discuss clones, right? And so the way my brain sometimes thinks, I was like, well, what if there was ever a fragrance police that came by door to door, confiscating clones, right? Confiscating those clones cover remixes. Just go with me, all right? And so I was like, okay, what if I had to give up all of my clone fragrances, all of my cousin cover remix fragrances, and could only have 10 that I kind of snuck and put around the house to hide from the fragrance police that are looking for those of us that do dabble in the fragrance, in the clone fragrances. So I've got 10 fragrances that are in my collection. These are not things that I know about and put nose on in speculation. These are 10 actual things that I have in my collection right now today that I'm saying, if I had to give up the rest of my clone cover remix fragrances, these are the 10 that would make it through the purge, if you will. All right, so stick with me. There's going to be some surprises, I think, of things that are not on this list, and I'll kind of go through what my thought process was as I was crafting this list for you today. All right, and then do me a favor, as I'm doing this, let me know in the comments what your top 10 or top 5 might be. What are the things that you're saying, if you had to give up every last one of your other fragrances, your clone cover remix fragrances, which are the ones that would stick around? I definitely want to hear that and see that for you as well. All right, now, as far as my process on this, as far as my thought process, I was first saying, immediately I know I need to have a Creed Aventus style clone fragrance cover remix, whatever you might want to call it. I was like, that DNA to me is just, it's the GOAT for a reason, right? It is the one that everyone, that there's 159 million clone cover remixes of anyway, right? It's just that great of a scent, even in its various iterations, even as there have been those that take that DNA and do something different with it, right? And so I was like, well, I don't necessarily need to have one because I've got this Mont Blanc Explorer, which is, in my opinion, baby Creed. Definitely in that wheelhouse, in that vein, but I was like, let me stick true to this entire process of giving you 10. So in my Creed Aventus, and I recognize that it's not a clone cover remix directly of Creed, it is more of Hasavat, but I am going to have here, and this is not in any particular order, but we're going to go with Hawas Black. This is going to be one of the ones that for life would be a fragrance that I keep, just because it lasts long. It does have beast mode performance. And it is in that vein. Again, it's more smoky than just your regular Creed Aventus, but it's in that Hasavat, in my opinion, framework, DNA, if you will. So this is the first one that I'm saying will be for life. Now, again, not in any particular order, even though that was the first one. That doesn't mean that that's my number one. That just means, as I'm thinking through how I was getting this process together, that was it. All right. The next thing in my wheelhouse, and the next thing in my space of thinking about this was, I want something that could be kind of a freshie, something that could be just a nice daily wear, that could be things that I could wear not only to the gym, but I could wear to work, and not be very spicy, not be very intentional, but just be something that's a nice fresh scent that I can throw on. All right, so I got 2 of those, and the first one is the interpretation cover remix approximation of Creed's Silver Mountain Water, and that is Club de Nuit Sillage. Yes, it is a fingerprint magnet. I probably should have wiped it off for you, but you get the idea. This right here does a pretty good approximation of Silver Mountain Water by Creed. Definitely something that, if I'm going to look at my collection right now and say, this is one for life, this is one for life. All right. The third one is one that is kind of newer. Well, of all of these fragrances, it's been around for just a little bit, but it is something that may be a little surprising. It is Liam Gray by Lattafa. This right here is their take on BDK Gris Charnel. does a great job. Just nice, fresh tea scent that works for me as a daily wear. It works as just an out evening wear, hanging out, not an intentional fragrance. So this helps to fulfill that freshy type of a vibe that I was looking for. It's like, okay, if I've got to have 10, I got to have them fit all of these kind of categories. All right. The next category as far as what I was putting this together. So I've given you so far 3. The next category as far as what I was putting things together was, I was like, okay, I need something a little spicy. I need something that's gonna give me that spice feel if I want to, but also work for date night, right? So for me, that was Oud for Glory by Lattafa, right? This is their clone cover remix of Oud for Greatness by Initio, and is one of my top 10 Lattafa fragrances. It's a great fragrance all around, just works really well. So this would be more of my spicier type of a fragrance. It's like a fresh spicy, but this would be kind of one that would be maybe sometimes for a work fragrance, but would also just work for those evenings out that I'm hanging out, maybe a date night. And when I say this, more of a date night is more of a just relax, me and the wife are just going out. We're not necessarily celebrating anything major, but it is something that we're going out and hanging out in. And so this would be another fragrance that would be a clone for life. Again, Bade Al Oud for Glory. All right. Which then brought me to, okay, I still want something that is for more of a date night type of a fragrance. Want something that is going to be a little more elevated, something that is more woody, if you will. All right. So that brought me to, by Fragrance World, Ebony Fume. All right. This is their take on Tom Ford's Ebony Fume, I think is how it's pronounced. Just a nice, woody, smoky, resinous type of a fragrance, incense and Palo Santo, I think it is. So just a great fragrance that for me fits my scent profile. This could be definitely something that I use for a date night, something that I use for evening out, even just hanging out, going out, listening to music, whatever it may be. This right here would also be one of my clones for life at this stage right now. All right. Then here's where it got a little challenging, right? Because I was like, okay, I want something that is, I want a gourmand. I want something that is a sweet fragrance. I want something that if I ever want to just wear something that is a nice gourmand vanilla fragrance, had to pull it out, right? And it came down to what I'm about to show you, and one that's been a long time favorite of this channel, which is Lattafa's Camera. But when I really went back and looked at it and said, okay, which one, if I had to give up one of these two, which one would it hurt really to give up right now? The one that would hurt to give up would be Liquid Broom. This right here is their approximation of, and this is Prince Avenue, which is also Fragrance World. This is their approximation of Altair by Parfums de Marly. Does a pretty bang up job of it. And one that I'm saying, listen, this is going to be my sweet gourmand type of a fragrance. Definitely that vanilla in there, that orange sickle, if you will. This works and is in my list of ones that would be around for life right now. All right. Then I said, okay, I need something that is kind of fruity. I want some fruity fragrances. And so I wanted something that was kind of subdued, but then I also was like, I want something that might be a little loud, right? A little that projects well, that kind of provides that beast mode performance when I'm looking for that type of a fragrance. So for the more subdued, but just a great fragrance, Lattafa's The Kingdom. This is quickly becoming one of my favorites. This is their take on Le Mal Elixir by JPG. This right here just is a great fragrance, more fruity and vanilla, if you will. This just works, in my opinion, and is quickly becoming a favorite of mine. It did crack my top 10 list of my Lattafas of all time right now. And it is one that right now, if I had to give up the rest of my clone fragrances, this is one that I'm enjoying a lot right now. So I don't want to give this one up just yet. So this is definitely making my top 10, or my 10 that I would keep for life at this stage. That also then brings me to Al Haramain Amber Oud Gold. This right here, loud, fruity, their take on Herba Pura by Xerjoff. This one is also one that is growing on me, and one that I think just works and can work in a lot of situations for, not necessarily a lot of situations, let me not say that, but it can be a nice layering base for some of these other fragrances, as well as just on its own. When I do want those moments where I, really kind of want my fragrance to lead the way, if you will, this is one that will be pulled out for that. So another one that will be around for life, Amber Oud Gold Edition, Al Harmain. All right. Now, if you've been on this channel any length of time, you're probably looking for it. You're like, where is it? We know it's going to come out at some point. Yes, I had to have Eternal Oud by Lattafa. This had to be for life. This is one of my favorite fragrances, period, in my collection. This is their take on Grand Soir. It's got the plum along with the vanilla, the amber, everything else is in there. This is more of my classy night out. This is more of my my date night with intentionality type night out. This is more of my special occasion type of fragrance. So Eternal Oud had to definitely make it into my 10 fragrances, my 10 clone fragrances, I should say, that I was going to have for life. All right. And now the last one, I was like, okay, I need something that is a little different, something that is, when I was looking at what was missing out of my collection, it was like, okay, I don't have any tobacco fragrances. Tobacco is a note that I'm really starting to appreciate. There's some fragrances that I have, like Jazz Club. I have Insurrection Wild 2 that do a nice tobacco. What else is it? Bulgari Man in Black does a nice tobacco. So I'm appreciating the tobacco, and of course, Red Tobacco by Mancera. So I'm appreciating the tobacco scent. And so I was like, I need to have in my clone collection, I need to have something that has a nice tobacco note and does it well. This is newer, very new into my collection, but it is one, again, by Fragrance World. This one is Apex. That's a tiger on the front there, by Fragrance World. This is their approximation of Penhaligon's Blazing Mr. Sam. This just bottom, when it comes down to the bottom, or comes down to the base notes, or the dry down, you're left with this cinnamon, vanilla, tobacco fragrance that's just there, and it works. And it's definitely a nice, spicy enough for date night, spicy enough for just even hanging out, especially in these cool, cold winter months. This is a fragrance that is becoming another favorite of mine, and I wasn't expecting it, just because it was, in all honesty, this was kind of a blind buy pickup. But this right here, Apex by Fragrance World, made it into my top 10 of clones that I would keep for life if I had to give up all of my other clone cover remix fragrances. Now, a couple of things that you'll notice are missing from this list. I did not put Sauvage on my list, right? And the reason I did, and just to let you know kind of what I was thinking, I was like, I love Sauvage. Sauvage is a great, not Sauvage, I'm sorry. I'm telling you what it's cloning, but Assad by Lattafa is doing a great job of doing Sauvage Elixir. But I was like, when I come down to it, I was more intrigued and more in tune, if you will, with Oud for Glory as a fragrance, as opposed to this. Although this is great, this would, I don't plan on giving it up anytime soon. But that's where this lost out. This lost out to Oud for Glory. And then I kind of mentioned that Kamra lost out in the battle to Al Taher. Again, another great gourmand fragrance. Very sweet, very nice cinnamon, praline, I think. Just a nice, great fragrance, but it did lose out in that. And then I really was toying with throwing this into the list, just because this is, in my opinion, one of the underrated fragrances that, especially when we're talking about clone cover remixes, this is kind of, in my opinion, been overlooked, but it is a great fragrance that if I had to add an 11th one, or if I could add an 11th one, this would definitely be in it. It would be Kismet by Maison Alhambra. This is their take on, I believe it's Tuxedo by YSL, I think it is. But this is just a nice evening formal, just a great evening formal special occasion type of fragrance that I don't think gets enough hype, gets enough love. This barely was pushed out of my top 10. In fact, this was in my top 10 until I realized that I wanted to have a tobacco fragrance in there as well. And then, of course, what also is out of here, just because it does it decently, but when I'm looking at that DNA, this is Supremacy Silver by Afnan. This lost out to Hawas Black, just because I really like the smokiness in the Hawas Black and how they do that. All right. That's it. Let me know if you had to give up your clone cover remixes and you could only have 10 or you could only have 5. What are the ones that you would have? I gave you my 10, but thankfully we ain't got to give them up, y'all. And so to all the fragrance police out there, mind your business. It's all good. It's all just a matter of perspective of what people want to wear. So if you want to pay $600 for a fragrance that I can smell just as great for $30, we're going to do that and keep it moving. All right. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get some of those niche fragrances, some of those other fragrances that are up there, but leave those people that are getting the clone cover remixes, leave them alone. They good. All right. Y'all have a great one. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, request notifications, and then share. And of course, meet me in the comments. We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed. Peace.